Buongiorno. You're listening to Going, where God is at work, a podcast that sits at the intersection of missions theory and practice, where we're walking out our call to ministry in faraway places and happy to have you join us on the journey. I'm your host, Jesse Pauli, a missions leader serving in Rome, and I'm here with Alessandro Di Leonardo, church planter in Cisterna di Latina, and Jen Williamson, our missiologist who lives and works in Lyon. Okay, guys, I just have to say this. I don't think I've said this yet. Every time I do our intro, I think of Cisterna di Latina and how we're putting it on the map, Alessandro. Because people might have heard of Rome, they might have heard of Lyon, but there's someone out there who had to Google, where is Cisterna di Latina? So
I had to Google it when I first moved here, so
we're putting Cisterna on the map. Oh, guys, this is a fun, bittersweet little bit of an episode because we are wrapping up our we're wrapping up our second season.
You're already envisioning the third season.
I'm already ready for the third season. Let's go. But yeah, we've done over a year of podcasting together, 2 seasons in that year. I can't remember how many episodes, dozens of episodes. And yeah, how are you guys feeling after a whole second season?
I don't feel like an expert, but definitely more seasoned than when we started. That didn't know what I was getting myself into when you asked me, Jesse, to be part of a podcast. And I actually wasn't even listening to podcasts at that time. And now I'm hooked. And so definitely better than when we first started.
Oh, yeah. I converted you to podcast. Oh, that's good. Yeah, I've been really enjoying it, and even just some of the early stats that we heard about when we were looking into it and kind of preparing about how many podcasts don't get past, like, I forget what it was, like 3 episodes or 5 episodes, and here we are, like, I think over 20 some episodes at this point. So I guess 20 in season 2. So yeah, even over like 30 some episodes. Anyways, it's been pretty good. What do you think, Jen?
Yeah, I still feel like I'm learning. I still feel like there's always more to learn. And I see room for growth. And I also love the opportunity for learning that this brings to us. It keeps me doing a little bit of research, and it keeps us reaching out to other people for interviews and learning from them. And I'm learning from you guys. And so that's the fun part for me, is it just feeds that part of me that wants to be a lifelong learner.
Yeah, I would agree. There's countless number of times that I felt like I was shamelessly plugging our podcast, but it wasn't because I wanted to get people to listen to us. It was because I was plugging an interview, because I was like, oh, we did this interview and man, I learned so much. You should listen to it. And I think people thought that I was trying to plug the podcast to get more views, but no, it was honestly like I was so excited with some of the stuff that we learned and heard from different people. And yeah, the way
that's okay. That's every professor, man. Every professor is using their book, not because, well, maybe they want to have some exposure, but really it's because that's what they know, and they want to share what they know in a book format.
No, exactly. This is our book, because I will never probably write a book, so this is the closest we'll get. No, it's really good, and I think we've come a long way. We've upgraded our microphones to some extent, and our headphones and stuff, so that we have a little bit better sound quality. You know, this would be a great time, actually, that we give a shout out to David for his enormous work of editing all of our episodes and getting those out there. He's been a lifesaver for me, because before I was doing it at the very beginning, and so this has been a huge help. So thank you, David, when you listen to this, for all the hard work and endless times, and yeah, how much you've had to hear my voice. Yeah, thanks so much for the editing that you do, and we look forward to challenging even David's editing, because I think, I don't know if we can announce it as it's happening, but we're definitely moving in the direction of video podcast as well.
Yep.
Which takes away the whole idea of like you have a face for radio, because now people are actually going to see us too. So I don't know if that's going to go well or not.
I know. Like today, I didn't have time to shower and everything before this because I'm going to work out after we podcast, and I'm probably not going to feel like I can do that if we go to video. Like I'm just in my sweats and ready to, go do some
Right.
cardio.
To me, it's more like I can't just listen to a voice. My brain automatically comes up with a person. And so it's always funny when you first see someone for the first time. When I'm listening to a podcast that went to video, or they already had video, I just wasn't listening, or I wasn't watching their videos. And then when I'm like, I'm just curious to see how they look like, it almost never looks like what my brain came up. So I'm like the worst AI image creator. It's always different. So that'd be kind of funny for some people who think the same way as I do. I'm like, oh, I didn't realize they would be like
different.
that. Yeah.
Well, I feel like the same way after the whole, Zooming and everything when we were all home for the pandemic. Then you met people in person. You're like, wow, I didn't realize how short you were, or how tall you were. It's kind of a similar effect. Do you listen to our voice? Now you get to see.
Or the mask. How much did the mask cover? It really took away, like, from recognizing people. Yeah. I have seen people on the street that, like, for some reason recognized me, but I did not recognize them without their mask. I'm like,
wow.
Yeah, to me, it's a huge part. I mean, nose, mouth.
So now you're going to see us, our faces, the way we roll our eyes at each other when we say ridiculous things, and all that kind of stuff. But no, so it's been really good. We do plan on continuing, and today we're going to get in and just kind of reflect on some of our key takeaways from some of our episodes, and then we'll take a break during the summer for a couple months while we do some planning. But we also have a lot of traveling and things going on in the middle there, and then we'll be back in the fall, I guess, late summer of 2025. So,
Jesse, before we go forward, though, I do like the way you kind of were talking about how you use the podcast and how other people can use it. Okay, one is obvious, listening to it, but I do like the idea of even going further than that and kind of using some of the interviews and some of the things that we talk about as an opportunity to train maybe other people who are going in the field or who are in the field. I think those are some good ways to give people ideas and how the podcast can be utilized.
Yeah, I one of the ways I heard is that the organization that we're with, we had applied for a grant, and so that got kind of word that we were doing this podcast within the organization. And the mobilizers, the ones that are out visiting churches and visiting college campuses to recruit for the organizations, shared with me that they find it helpful to share with potential missionaries. So I thought that was really good, because we're talking about kind of real life experiences and topics, and so people that are thinking of going into missions actually get to hear and learn from that. So that's one way for sure. So yeah, thank you for sticking with us, all of our listeners, and please do continue to stick with us as we continue to grow. And we do recognize, as Jen alluded to, that we have a lot of improvements we can make. We can definitely get better in many ways. But hopefully, if you've been with us from the beginning, you will have seen that we have also made some improvements and gotten better over time. So this season was mini series, and we always talked about kind of what we can learn from the book, the Bible, kind of theory and theology about a topic, and then we did our interviews and our resource episodes. And so why don't we look at the interviews and just kind of pick maybe a couple highlights that we had from any of the interviews, and then we can look at some of the resources we found helpful and useful. And maybe this episode in and of itself will spur on those of you who are listening to go back and listen to any episodes that you missed or things that you hear us talk about now.
Yeah, so we had so many good interviews, and as I've just looked back through and listened through, it's hard to choose one that would be my favorite, because I learned something from every single one. But I will say that I think my favorite was our first with Becca Taylor. And the reason is because, one, evangelism is near and dear to my heart, and two, I'm really bad at it. And her zeal and the way she just exudes joy about being able to talk about Jesus and share Christ with others is so contagious and motivating for me. And it reminds me that this isn't hard. This is a joy. This is great. This is just fantastic. So I love that one. And then just a little shout out to Jonathan Wilson at Fruit Cove, because he gave me a lot of great ideas personally for working with my sending church and for ways that I can better communicate with them and better collaborate with them.
Yeah, I agree, Jen, in regards to we had all of them were great interviewees and learned so much from them. I mean, we do that on purpose, right? We try to get people who we can attest to being experts in that field. So it makes sense that we learned, and hopefully so did the listeners. To me, one of my favorites was the one that I was missing in. I was with Ted Esler, the president of Missio Nexus. And I really loved, similar to what you were saying about having a passion for evangelism, I have a passion for technology. I graduated as a mechanical engineer. And just to see Ted kind of have such a passion of using AI for the missions, that to me was like, oh, kind of brought me back to nerding out to on technology and how it can be used. And so that was really great. I really appreciated the way he walked us through it, the way he allowed it to be honest about its limitations and how it can have some negative aspects to it, how it's a learning curve, all those things. To me, all that language was bringing me back so many good memories. And so I really enjoyed listening that interview and encouraging me to dive into it and be excited about it so that I could use it and grow from it for the purposes of the kingdom.
Yeah, I have to say though, Jen, the episode with Becca had probably the most spicy one-liner in there when she talked about
The stripper.
sharing a gospel with the stripper. We could have put that on clickbait, and there's some famous pastors out there that have gotten in trouble for they're talking about strippers. Let alone we had a podcast with someone who got to evangelize a stripper. That was quite the hot take there. I also really enjoyed the episode with Becca. I thought it was really practical and lots of good stuff. But I think for me, the one that I find myself referring back to, and the one I would almost say is kind of an underrated episode that we had, was the one with Paul Liu. Just the way he talked about discipleship and the different intentional elements that he uses. The idea of talking about your devotional life, your domestic life, and your development in your life. That to me, I still use that when I'm doing a one-on-one, when I'm with someone. I go to that and think about that. So that was really impactful for me. I think also the episode that we did with Jonathan, for me too, I would say it was really helpful to see someone who has that much access to so many different missionaries getting so many different ways of feedback, and just the encouragement for the missionary to communicate in the way that's best, that works for them. Was really helpful, and the honesty he encouraged for missionaries to have in their communication with their supporting churches. Yeah, we had a lot of different interviews. We also did some on member care. We did on short-term teams and prayer partners. So there's plenty of interviews. I would say probably if you haven't listened to much of our podcast, at least go back and listen to the interviews because those guys all had different takes on stuff. It was helpful to stretch our minds.
Yeah, this is kind of funny, but another one that I liked is one that, again, I wasn't on. And it was the interview between you, Jen, and Donna, one of your supporters and prayer partners. I thought it was really sweet to kind of see that interaction of years of praying with her and her husband and just kind of investing in the work that you're doing. I thought that was a unique take because, we have our personal relationships, but to kind of see it from someone else's perspective, I thought that highlighted a lot of things, that the longevity of things, how they came about to thinking. You kind of are grateful when someone decides to jump in and support you, but to hear their thought process, how they went about it, how they go about praying for you, I thought all of it was very, very good perspective for anyone going out.
And it wasn't an interview, but we also had a great episode reacting to Wes Huff on the Joe Rogan podcast. That was a fun moment in podcast history, I guess, Christian podcast history. So why don't we shift gears a little bit and talk about some of the resources, some of the things that we're encouraged by and got to check out that we were exposed to by, well, I guess we were exposed to either by the interviewees, but also just each other.
Well, I guess for me, going online with the AI episode, I didn't realize how much it can be useful. And so I've been using a lot ChatGPT to really help me administratively, and even with some of the translations. I was using some of these things that are lower level, but now to even go further to really help out and move things ahead, that's been super, super helpful.
Yeah, I'll just jump in there too. AI for me has definitely been one, and some of the stuff I already had been using, like at a simple level, ChatGPT, but learning a little bit from TED, some of the different ones available, and some just encouragement on how to use it was really helpful. And I'm in conversations with different people in our mission organization to say, okay, how could we as an organization think about using this, especially for the leadership. I think that's a resource that is like all things, like all tools, actually. You could use a hammer to hit a nail into a board to build a house, or you could use a hammer to, knock someone over the head with. So it's like all tools. You can use them correctly or incorrectly. And so I'm trying to advocate for the idea that we could use AI in our leadership of the mission in a healthy way. And how could we do that? Because there's a cost, like he said. And I think if we can get approved to use some of our funds for that cost, it would make it really helpful, and it would take a lot off of our plate. Just the idea of like transcribing meetings and putting out notes for them, like that's so time consuming for some of us. And the fact that AI could just do that, I mean, we use that for the podcast. We get a transcription from AI, we ask it what the show notes should look like, and it gives us a rough draft to start from for forming our show notes. And so I definitely am a big fan of the AI tool.
Yeah, the AI one was, I think, one of my favorites too, just because I had so little experience with it. And there are parts of it, yeah, and some of the resources that were shared, I'm using on a pretty regular basis now. And so that was extremely helpful. There's one that I've been wanting to look into and haven't yet, the epistle one that was shared about communications. Have any of you used that yet?
Not personally. I've been reading people who've been using it.
Yeah, I tried it at the very beginning, and I think I was too early. So I think they've worked out a lot of kinks and a lot of stuff since I first tried it. And so now, similar to Alessandro, I think I have 2 or 3 missionaries now that I lead that are using it, and so I follow their post. And yeah, it's really, really good.
Yeah, so I just haven't had time to look into that yet, but that's on my to-do list. And then I've referred a ton of people to Jesse Cruz's resources for short-term missions on Touch the World. So when I hear of churches or other places wanting to build out short-term missions or trying to, do that well, I have shared that resource with a lot of people.
One of the things that I was thinking about as we're even just discussing this right now is I feel like in some ways the resources are limited, maybe, because most of the resources have to do with communication. Like our work has so much to do with communication. We have an eternal truth, I guess, or of the gospel, and we're trying to communicate that to all people in this world. And so like really everything is based around communication. We're either trying to communicate the gospel with people that we're trying to reach, or we're trying to communicate what God's doing to the people that are supporting and partnering with us. And so I feel like, if anything, too, one of the resources that we maybe never talked about, but people could take away from even just this podcast and in general, is the idea of having conversation with people. Like not assuming things, not just staying in your silo, but whether at your local church where you're at or on the mission field, wherever you're at, the resource of people, of exposing yourself to different thought and to having conversations about things with others, and not just trying to do your own thing, but to include others in that process of whatever it is you're trying to do. Maybe it's administrative, maybe it's evangelistic, whatever it is, including others, talking to others, having peer groups. Because essentially that's what this is. This is kind of like a live peer group where the 3 of us hash out different things and kind of talk through different things, and we're able to learn from another. And then when we bring in interviewees and do the same thing. So hopefully that in and of itself could be a resource that others would be encouraged by.
And I guess we could kind of invite those listening to also help us with the resources. Maybe they have resources that we didn't touch upon, and kind of getting that peer conversation you were just mentioning, Jesse, and having it breach the fourth wall, as they say, and having them communicate with us and commenting in each of the episodes they've listened to. And one of the comments could be, hey, have you guys looked into this resource? Hey, have you looked at that? That would be super helpful for us. And then maybe one day we can gather all that information and have another episode and talk about those resources.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, I think that's a great thing. If we can get more people commenting and sharing some ideas and resources, that would be really, really helpful. And that's how we learn from each other. So, which, speaking of something, and I don't know, Jen, if you know much about this, he didn't mention it on our podcast, Ted, but Missio Nexus, I saw recently have launched an app.
Oh, yeah. The app is amazing. So the Missio Nexus web, I work for Missio Nexus. I love Missio Nexus. There's so many resources available there. There's a lot of events and opportunities to grow and learn together and to connect with peers who are doing similar things to what all of us are doing. But the website's a little clunky, and we're working on it. But the app is pretty slick. So it's a free download, and if you're a member, you have access to all the same things. And so the app is great.
Yeah, I haven't played around with it too much, but I did download it and did see that it could be another resource for people. Well, we have really enjoyed, I think I can speak for all of us, this season, and just getting to tackle in a tangible way and go a little bit deeper in the different topics that we alluded to or that we briefly touched on in season 1. And, like we've said, just peeling back the layers and keep going farther down. We're not sure exactly what season 2 or season 3 will look like, if we'll do mini-series, if we'll do something different, but it will be a lot of the same, that in the sense of we'll be trying to tackle these practical, deep things about missions and how we can better serve God and serve others and reach the world.
Hey, and if you have ideas, please, in the comments, let us know. What would you like to talk about? What are the things that are concerning to you? What are the things that are exciting to you? Where would you see opportunities for growth in your ministry? What kind of interviews would you like to hear? Help us out.
Yeah. One of the things I think would be really helpful is suggestions on people to interview. Our knowledge base is limited. I mean, we have experience. We each of us come from different pools of people and have access to different pools of people, but you, the listener, have even more access to even more different types of people. And so we would love if you would even suggest people. You can shoot us an email or shoot us a comment and just let us know. We would love to hear those suggestions. And as we said, also about topics that you would like to tackle. Any other things to add, guys, as we wrap up season 2?
I just think it was really great to be able to divvy up each mini-series that way, from a theological perspective, by the books, as we called it, then having an interview, having someone who's gone through it, who's doing it and speaking into it, and then the last one, resources. I thought the layout was done really well. It was very helpful for me, and I'm sure for you guys as well, and hopefully for the listeners. So I'm really pleased with it.
Awesome. Yeah, it was good. So we will be back in a couple months. Look for episodes on all of your podcast listening platforms, and who knows, maybe we'll have some video content going up too. Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. It was brief, but it was a summary of what we've got into this season, and we really hope that as you listen, you enjoy the conversation and find them insightful. Because your ministry is important to us. And so we hope that you consider the time you spend with us as an investment in your work. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment, and share this podcast with your friends. And until next time, keep going wherever Jesus leads.